We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
Oh, hey there, general listeners. This is your buddy, Herb the Wizard. In just a minute, just let me find it on the dial.
'Cause if your dad doesn't have a beard, you've got two mums, two beardless mums. If your dad doesn't have a beard, you've got two mums, two beardless mums.
Well, there we go. This is it. Get ready. We're going to start the show. Well, hi there, everybody, and this is your pal, Herb the Wizard. And I'm here to welcome you to this, our 76th episode of the Grow with Grubby Cup Show. And now it's time to listen to a little bit of the wonderful and delightful Kelly Erickson, currently playing with Teaser.
We got some seeds to grow, he'll keep you in the know. Variety to claim, so baby, what's his name? He's the man to know. He'll make your garden grow. Grubby Cup's his name. He's the man who'll make a change.
Hello there, gentle listeners. This is your roving bard, Leaf Malone, reporting on the Grow with Grubby Cup show, brought to you by DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com. And here they are, the buds of the circle table. Oh, see, it is I, Sancho Panza. Good evening. I'm Alfred the Dungeon Keeper. Hi there, friends. This is the Irreverent Joe, and I'm Herb the Wizard. Psst, it's me, Vinny the Viper, the Sheriff of Riding Park. And I am your host, the Green Knight, Grubby Cup Stash. Thank you for joining us here on the Grow with Grubby Cup show. Brought to you by the good folks over at DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com. Well, hey there, Grubby. Are there any events coming up that maybe our general listeners would like to know about? Why, yes, there is, Herb. This weekend is Maxim Yield Magazine's Indoor Garden Expo at the LA Convention Center. And the way that they do these events is that Saturday is the industry-only day. So if you have a hydro shop, or your manufacturer, that sort of thing, that event will be on Saturday, and then on Sunday they open it to the public, which is everybody else. Speaking of everybody else, if you want a ticket, then get a hold of me, and get a hold of me quick, because I have some spare tickets to hand out. And once again, that's this Saturday and Sunday. Sunday's the public day. Down at the LA Convention Center will be Maxim Yield's Indoor Garden Expo. I'm going to really try to get down there. The arrangements that I had to go down there kind of fell through. So I'm looking at driving up early Saturday so I can hit the Saturday show and figuring it out from there, and then driving back. So if anybody's got better travel plans and you want to work something out, let me know, because I'd be down to carpool with somebody and figure it out, because that's a long drive by your lonesome, especially if you got to go both ways in a short period of time.
Hello there, Mr. and Mrs. General Reader and all the ships at sea. Now it's time for... The Grammy Cup is a portion of our program where we take questions from you, the general listeners, and read them here on air. Please keep in mind that plant that shall not be named shall continue not to be named, so please don't include it in your letters.
Why, Grubby, 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 I have a letter for you. Okay, Herb, what's the letter say?
The letter, it was your Grubby Cup. How goes the hydroponic yeast growing? And it signed Hoppy.
Well, for those regular gentle listeners, I am a fan of growing yeast hydroponically and then drinking the nutrient solution that you get from it, also known as brewing, which is a little odd because those of you that know me personally, I'm not quite a teetotaler, but I'm closer to that than I am a lush. I will have a drink infrequently. That's not a judgment choice or anything. That's just I don't like to drink all that much. So when I drink, I tend to drink for the flavor. So I tend to be a little bit picky about what I drink. Anyway, growing yeast hydroponically, a.k.a. brewing.
Well, gee whiz, Grubby, brewing's kind of like making a magical potion. I mean, there's some magical stuff going on in there, and you got bubbles and everything.
That's right, Herb. I commonly make homemade ginger ale, because I like ginger ale, and I prefer homemade ginger ale to what you can get at the store, at least for the price. And to make the ginger ale, it's a pretty simple process. You need ginger, you need sugar, you need a little lemon juice, water, and I don't recommend this due to, I'm sure there's some health code problem issue with it, but I use cleaned out 3-liter soda bottles, and I won't talk through the whole process again because we've hit that in previous shows, and I'll hit that again in another one coming up, I'm sure. But anyway, you prepare it and you put it in the bottle, and the yeast will munch down on the sugar, and they'll give off carbon dioxide, which will carbonate the beverage, and you get carbonated ginger ale at home. And it's easy, and it tastes good. The carbonation you can adjust, because that's just, how much do you let it carbonate before you chill it to slow that down. The bubbles in it wind up to be a little bit more like champagne bubbles than what you think of with regular carbon dioxide injected soda, which is a nice change in that. The mead that I make is called a sack mead. Mead is a honey wine, and sack mead is a honey wine with a whole bunch of honey in it. And as a result of having so much honey in it, the final product is sweet. So it's like a dessert wine or an after-dinner wine.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that sounds good. You have a little sip of something after dinner, and it's sweet, and it's kind of like having a dessert. And I like desserts. I like things that taste good in my mouth, and I like magical potions.
Thanks, Herb. With the sack mead, in fact, you wind up with so much sugar in it that the yeast will consume enough sugar to make enough alcohol that basically they'll die of alcohol poisoning before they use up all the sugar, which means that the final product then has some sugar left in it and is a sweet. That's part of why traditional sweet wines tend to have a higher alcohol content than a dry wine, where the yeast runs out of sugar before the alcohol content gets high enough to be toxic to it. And that's all really pleasant things to think about with something that you're going to use as a beverage later.
Well, gee, Gubby, yeah, but it's all part of nature, and it's all part of the circle of life. And have you seen my magical potion bottle? Because I could use a little bit more magical potion now, I think.
Anyway, I think I started this particular honey wine a month or so ago. I want to say around the 17th of last month. And it's just now finishing up the yeast converting the sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. And in this case, I put a gas lock on it so that the carbon dioxide would escape, because in this instance, I'm not using it to generate CO2 intentionally as much as it's converting the sugar into alcohol. And after that process is finished, then I can bottle it up and then start to age it and wait for it to clear and get all yummy and scrumptious and all that good stuff. And you can purchase airlocks really cheap, or you can, if you understand the principle, then you can make one with a S-shaped chunk of tubing. And basically, it just lets the carbon dioxide under pressure bubble out without letting outside gases and that bubble in. And the way that it does this is because of the pressure differential. The CO2, etc., under pressure in the bottle has a higher pressure than the outside air does. So it will blow out. And as it passes through the little water trap, much like the way that the little S curve or the little curve works in the bottom of a sink to create that same type of barrier to prevent, the gases from flowing in and out, which can contaminate your stuff and make ickies happen. You don't have to do that with the ginger ale, because there I'm trying to capture the CO2 and use that to carbonate the beverage and make it fizzy.
Oh, gee, Gubby, that makes sense, and hopefully that answers your question. Well, Gubby, I have a question of my own on that topic. Why would you make soda at home? You can get that from the store cheap enough.
Well, as I said before, with the homemade ginger ale, all it has in it is sugar, ginger, a little yeast, and a little lemon juice, and some water. So there's absolutely no, preservatives or odd chemicals or, I know exactly what's in it, and I know exactly what's coming out of it. And another nice thing is that if you make them at home, you can dial it into your particular tastes. For example, most folks will strain it to bottle it up, strain the ginger out, and on it, I just shove the chunks of ginger in it, because I don't mind the occasional little bit of ginger in the soda. And that's a personal preference thing. That's why they don't call it Baskin-Robbins one flavor. everybody's a little different. But again, because everybody's a little different, if you make it yourself, then
well, gee whiz, Grubby, what's up? Is you having to do work or something that you're allergic to?
Thanks, Herb. And it's a entertaining, cool thing that I enjoy doing, and if you enjoy doing it, go for it. Oh, I should probably mention that the ginger ale, and if you make it, by all means, do more research, because there's a lot I skipped in that process, and you really need to keep things sterile. But that you want to drink up relatively quickly, which generally isn't a problem because you make up a batch, and it takes half a week or so before you can pop it in the fridge. But then it goes relatively fast because I like to drink it. And with the mead and the sack wine, that. Once you bottle it up, you can hang on to that for extended periods of time. And for the first few months, it seems to improve. 6-month-old wine, the honey wine, in my opinion, tends to taste better than, say, month-old. But after that, it kind of, after a year or so, it doesn't seem to benefit a whole lot from being stored an additional year. So you get diminishing returns after a while. You okay there, Herb?
Yeah, I didn't remember we all go commercial, but hey!
And now for a few words from our sponsors.
The Grow with Grubby Cup show is brought to you in part by
American Beauty Garden Center at 4400 East Independence Boulevard in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you are in the North Carolina area and you get the chance, swing by American Beauty Garden Center. They carry Grubby Cups potting mix, which I appreciate. And pick yourself up a bag and try it out. As always, I do my own customer service, so if you have any questions or comments, concerns about the products, etc., contact me directly, and I will get you together with you on the phone and answer any questions you may have. And there aren't a whole lot of soil mixes out there that can say that you can talk to the dude whose face is on the bag if you have a question about it. Once again, that's Grubby Cups potting mix, available at a variety of fine hydroponic shops. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on dfzradio.com.
You're listening to dfzradio.com.
We're listening to DFCRadio.com.
Well, hey there, everybody, and this is your pal, Herb the Wizard, and I'm here to remind you that the Heavy Tea Grow Show is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Beer 30 Show is on Mondays at 5:30. On Tuesdays is the Doofer. You get a girl in a garden at 5 p.m. and Grow with Grubby Cup Show at 6. Make sure to tune in to DFZ Radio for all your bizarre, weird, and odd programming.
Botanicare is proud to introduce a revolutionary 3-part nutrient system that is the culmination of over 15 years of research and development. The Kind Plant Nutrient System. Designed by leading plant physiologists, this is the most versatile, effective, yet easy-to-use plant nutrient system ever created. It all starts with Kind Base. Kind Base contains nitrogen and calcium, but no trace minerals, magnesium, or sulfur. By placing those nutrients in the Grow and Bloom formulas, you have greater control over how your plants grow in your medium of choice. Using coco coir or RO water, just add more base to increase calcium levels. Growing in clay pebbles or rock wool, then just reduce the amount of base to ensure the proper calcium level. It's that easy. Kind Grow contains trace minerals and a proprietary blend of all natural ingredients to help maximize root growth, reduce internodal spacing, and create a lush canopy. Kind Bloom was formulated with the optimum phosphorus to potassium ratio. Your plants will have healthy branch and stalk development, accelerated flower set, and increased yields. Kind Bloom also contains magnesium to help improve photosynthetic efficiency, which is critical in accelerated growth environments. To put it more simply, Botanicare's Kind nutrient system is the only nutrient system that is fully customizable to your kind of plants and medium. Botanicare Kind Base, Grow, and Bloom. Fully customizable. Any plant, any medium. For more information, go to botanicare.com. Botanicare Kind. Make it your kind.
We're listening to DFC Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on the DFZ Radio Network at dfzradio.com.
Hello, gentle listeners and all the ships at sea. This is your wandering bard, Leaf Malone. And now it's time for Meals and Munchies. Well, gee whiz, Joe Grubby Cup, I'm feeling kind of hungry. So what are we making today?
Well, grab yourself a snack, Herb, because today we're going to talk more about documenting food than we are making food and eating food.
Well, gee, Grubby, I don't know about that. Taking notes isn't the really fun part.
Well, yeah, but then after you write them down, you know, you got to give them a try or two to make sure they work in that. But writing down recipes and sharing recipes is one way that folks can, you know, share homemade stuff. And so I've started, no promises on it getting finished anytime soon, but I've started a little Grow with Grubby Cup cookbook, documenting some of the recipes in that from the show. So it has so far my bagel recipe, fry bread recipe, brownies, fortune cookies, Dutch babies, peach coogan, onion soup, shrimp creole, tomato preserves. I'm gonna do a write up and put the ginger ale and just start jotting down the recipes as we go through them here on the show, at least the better ones, and see if we can come up with a little Grow with Grubby Cup cookbook and take it from there.
Well, gee, Grubby, that sounds good. And then that'll be hard for you to lose your recipes because then you'll have, like, you know, boxes of them sitting around.
Yeah, I got to admit, that's part of it, too. I've lost far too many recipes over the years, and it seems like every time I try to get organized and get them all in one place, then something bad happens at one place I put them all. So anyway, if you have an extra stellar, nifty, cool recipe, get it to me and I'll try it, and we'll try it here on the show. And if it's one of the better recipes, we'll put it in a little cookbook thing. And I'm not envisioning any fancy, slick, cool, commercial enterprise. I'm thinking much more along the lines of what the local PTAs used to do as a fundraiser. So just friendly, folksy, good recipes and good food.
Well, gee, Grubby, it's okay, because it's not how pretty the recipe is in the book. It's how good the food tastes that's the most important.
And that way, we can do it for dirt cheap if anybody actually wants the recipes.
And now it's time for Alfred's Garden.
Well, hey, Grubby, you told me to remind you not to wait. Well, hey, Grubby, you told me not to forget to remind you to do something.
Oh, really, Herb? Well, what was that?
I forget.
Well, gee wizard, Herb.
Oh, wait, I remember. You said we were going to take some tomato cuttings.
Okay, well, let's head on out to the courtyard and take some cuttings.
Oh, boy, Grubby, that sounds like a good idea.
And here we are in the courtyard looking at summer tomato garden. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some cuttings.
Oh, gee, Grubby, you just cut anywhere you want on the plant, or what do you do?
Well, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a growing tip, and that's a place where the new growth is occurring and will continue to grow. You don't want to grab just a leaf. You want to grab an actual growing tip.
Well, gee, Grubby, that makes a good idea. If you want to grow, then you probably want a growing tip. Well, how big should the cuttings be there, Grubby Cup, sir?
Well, you want it to include the growing tip, and you're going to want enough of the stem to, then put in whatever growing medium you're going to use.
Well, that makes sense, Grubby. If you make it too short, then you won't have any room to stick it in anything. But then again, if you make it too long, then you might have troubles, because then you'll fall over and stuff, and yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Different people have different preferences. You want to make it a nice, clean cut, and keep in mind that you're making a wound both in the plant and in the cutting. So you're going to want to baby them a bit, because anytime you have an open wound in a plant, there's a chance for infection.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that doesn't sound very nice at all. I wouldn't want my plants to get infected, because then they'd be infected, and that sounds like a very bad thing.
Well, yeah, because they can be infected with things like dampening off and root rot and a variety of other icky stuff that will keep your clones from starting or can damage a, otherwise healthy plant.
Well, yeah, but you were saying that if they were healthy, then that's one of the best defenses.
Oh, absolutely. A healthy plant is one of the best defenses against disease. It's kind of a slippery slope type of thing. The happier and healthier the plant is, the more likely it is to continue to be happy and healthy. Once a plant is turned sickly, then that lowers its resistance to a variety of other nasty things that can infect and hurt a plant.
Well, it doesn't sound good. That sounds like a good reason to keep your plants happy and healthy, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. Anyway, so we've made some cuttings from our tomato plants, and we've just used a sharp instrument, and we have a cutting tip. And, well, these that I've taken have about 2.5, 3 inches of stem. Like I said before, some folks like them a little longer, some folks like them really short.
Well, gee, wizard, your Grubby Cup, what do we do now?
Well, what we're going to do now is keep in mind that what we're trying to do here when we're trying to root a cutting is there are meristem cells, which are undifferentiated cells that are in the stem. And these are kind of like stem cells in people, because what they are is they're cells that haven't declared what it is they're going to be when they grow up. So the meristem cells in the branch, for example, without it being cut off the plant, might have turned into a leaf cell or a flower cell. And what we're going to do is, now that we've cut it off the plant, we're going to expose it to an environment that's going to encourage that meristem cell to turn into a root cell.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense because we're trying to root the cutting.
Absolutely correct. Now, one of the things that we're going to do to try to encourage that meristem cell, or those meristem cells, to become a root instead of a different type of cell, is, in this instance, we're going to use a product from Botanicare called Rhizogel. And what Rhizogel has in it is a rooting hormone known as IBA. And I don't have it memorized, and I don't have my glasses, so I can't tell you what IBA stands for right at the moment. But it is a rooting hormone, like NAA, or there are a couple of others. And what this is going to do is, this hormone is going to try to help those meristem cells that are exposed to it to decide to become root cells instead of a leaf cell or a flower cell or a, what other sort of cell. And so what we're going to do is, we're going to, since it is a gel, we're going to dip the cutting into the gel. Now, what I have here is a relatively large container of it. And in order not to contaminate this larger container, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pour a little bit from the large container into a small vial type container. And that way I can just dip the stem in the vial, and that way I don't expose the rest of the Rhizogel in the large bottle to whatever may come off from the stem, from the cutting, from dipping into it. And that way I'm sure that I keep my main supply uncontaminated.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that sounds like a good idea. Because that way, if something icky got in it, then you'd only have the icky in the little vial, and you could just throw that away, and you wouldn't have a bunch of icky in the big vial.
Well, that's right. Now, hopefully I'm going to look and make sure there's no icky on anything before I dip it, but that's the idea. Anyway, so I'm going to dip the cuttings into the rooting hormone, into the Rhizogel, and I only want to dip it as far as the depth I'm going to put it into the media. Because, again, remember, what this is doing is, it's trying to get those cells in the stem to decide that when they grow up, they want to be root cells, and you don't want roots higher up on the stem than what's buried. So you only want to dip the lower portion of it into the rooting gel.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that kind of makes sense. Oh, Grubby, well, what do we do after they've been dipped in the solution there, the Rhizogel?
Well, I was going to make some soil cubes, but I seem to have misplaced my soil cube press. But luckily, I had some of the pre-made soil plug type things laying around, so I'm just going to use those.
Oh, all right, Grubby. Well, sometimes, it's like a cake or something. Sometimes you just want to use it easy, like a mix, and then sometimes you will make it from scratch, and it just, there's room for both. It's just sometimes one's easier than the other, and sometimes, one's more fun than the other. Because I like squishy things, and when you make soil cubes, it's really squishy between your fingers, and I really like that.
Oh, and to back up a bit, I didn't bother because it's been raining, so everything's really humid and really moist. But generally, once you take the cuttings, go ahead and pop those in a glass of water or something, because that way they'll stay hydrated while you're doing the rest of it. I didn't bother this time because, like I said, it's been raining, everything's very wet, and everything's very humid. But particularly in the summer or what have you, if you take a cutting, you want to keep the end of it wet, because otherwise it can dry out and go into terminal wilt before you get a chance to get it all the way into the media.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that's a good idea, but you should have said that a while ago, so maybe you should talk to the other guys and see if they're going to put that backwards, because I could send us back in time, but then we'd probably have some sort of hilarious adventure and not finish the cuttings.
Well, that's true, so let's go ahead and finish these cuttings, and now I've taken the cutting, I've dipped it in the gel, and then I'm going to gently ease it into this pre-made soil plug type thing. If the stem doesn't work in easily, don't snap the stem. You can take something like a bamboo skewer or a crochet hook or a knitting needle, and you can make that hole a little bit larger. Something else that you can do is, if the plant is already starting to show roots, because it was in like an aeroponic system or an aeroponic cloner, what you can do is you can split a Rockwell cube or a sprouting cube or whatever in half, and then lay the plant with the roots in the cube, and then close up the two halves and put that in whatever holder container you're going to use, because you don't want to damage any existing roots, because that's the point of what you're trying to do.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that makes sense. If you're trying to root a plant, you probably shouldn't break all the roots off.
And now that we've got our little tomato plant cuttings in our little cubes, we're just going to set them in a tray and put them under the edge of Alfred's little garden here. And the reason for that is because we want to give them some light, but they don't need really intense light. They particularly don't need to be exposed to a lot of heat from a light, because you're going to want to keep them moist, not soggy, but moist, to encourage those roots, then encourage the plant to stay hydrated until the roots form and start developing, and it starts being able to take up water naturally instead of just through that exposed cutting area.
Oh, gee, Grubby, that doesn't sound too difficult. You pretty much go over and you cut the grow tip with a little bit of stem off the plant, and you keep putting in water so it doesn't dry out, and then you take it over and then you dip it in the brewing solution or whatever, and then you put it in your little media, some kind of cube or soil or whatever, and then you put it in the light, and then you don't kill it and you get a plant.
That's right. At this point, mostly what you're trying to do is just not kill it, because if you don't kill it, eventually it's going to throw out roots and you'll have another little plant. One nice thing about taking cuttings is that because they are a cutting off of an original plant, they're pretty much the same plant that's just now in two pots. They are genetically very similar to each other. In most cases, you're going to get a plant that's pretty much identical to it. It is a fair potential for some small changes, but by and large, you get a copy of the original plant. That's why this technique is oftentimes referred to as cloning.
Oh, gee whiz, Kobe, that would make sense, because then if you took somebody and you made a copy of DNA and you made a copy of them, and then you had that running around, then yeah, that'd be a clone. So I could see where people would say that, doing asexual vegetative propagation would be called cloning, because it's a lot easier to say.
You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show on DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com.
listening to DFCRadio.com.
Hi, and welcome to Non-Specific Hydro.
Yeah, hey, I have a buddy of mine that was telling me about a great additive.
Okay, do you remember the name?
Yeah, his name's Steve. He's a good buddy.
No, the product.
No, he told me it was a super concentrated organic enhancer. Comes in a yellow bottle.
Well, it sounds like he's talking about Floralicious Plus from General Hydroponics.
I don't think that was the name, but he also told me it was a vegan bioplant stimulator that contained vitamins, plant sugars, amino acids, seaweed extract.
Yeah, that would be General Hydroponics Floralicious Plus.
I don't think that's it, man. He told me it was something like Dora Vicious Flush or something, and he said it was like an organic supplement that could also be used in vegging or flowering, and it was compatible with hydro, soil, and cocoa.
Yes, that would be General Hydroponics Floralicious Plus.
Oh, hey, man, I just remembered what it's called. It's Floralicious Plus.
Oh, good. I was drawing a blank.
Floralicious Plus from General Hydroponics. Ask for it by name.
You're listening to DFCRadio.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash, and you're listening to us on DFZRadio.com.
And now it's time for a Budge of the Circle Table. I'm here in Rockland, California at the Green Garden Store.
Hi, thank you for visiting. My name is Michael Fisher. I'm the owner. Been open almost 5 years now. Love the industry. Love the way it's expanding. There's a few things we'd like to talk about today. One of them is pH.
It's very cool. So what do you got to say about pH?
Well, if you're a soil gardener like a lot of us here in Northern California, I think pHing is slightly overrated. When was the last time you pH'd your lawn, your trees, or your roses in your backyard, right? Virtually never. Most backyard gardeners wouldn't even know what pH is or why they would need to do it. If you're running organic soils, organic nutrients, as long as you don't have really crazy water, anything over 9, anything below 5, you don't need to pH. I haven't used my pH meter in probably 10 years, whether I do indoor or outdoor growing, whether I use synthetic or organic nutrients. With that being said, I do use filtered water. That does seem to help. The ultimate being reverse osmosis, but then, of course, you want to add your CalMag back in to remineralize. So I just want to say to a lot of soil growers, maybe do an experiment where you don't pH. In fact, you can use certain things to naturally raise or lower your pH, like Hygrozyme enzyme solution. That's a good pH adjustment. For example, Protex Silica is naturally alkaline or high in pH. So if you think you have low pH issues, throw in a little silica. That'll naturally raise your pH. I've been doing it for years, and I find that I no longer need to pH my water or nutrients.
And something that you mentioned that I'm a big fan of, I'm a huge fan of side-by-sides. If you have two plants and you grow them in the same environment and you treat one just a little differently, then at the end you should have a ballpark idea, at least as far as that sample, which way went better.
Absolutely. There's a current publication called Garden Greenhouse Magazine, and they had an article in last issue. He took tomatoes, I believe, in 5.0, and also grew the same tomato stock in, I believe, an 8.0 pH, and showed pictures, and there was virtually no difference. There was an abundance of healthy, ripe tomatoes. However, the exception would obviously be hydroponics, because there's no microbes, there's no media for those microbes to latch onto and stay alive. So if you're in hydro, that is the exception. You do want to pH regularly.
Because, again, with hydro, you have more control, and the more control you have over it, the more you are then responsible for it.
Absolutely. All of your inputs you can generally see within 24 to 48 hours in hydroponics.
Well, thank you again. And once again, this is at the Green Garden Store in Rockland, California. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Grubby.
Flash, and now it's time for your moment of meditation.
All right, sit back, relax. Let the worries of the day float from your body. Oh, I wonder who's that. Oh, hey, look. It's Jeff and Dre from the Dewey Misters. Hey, guys, come on in. Hi, I'm Grubby Kepstash, and I'm here with Jeff, and he's going to tell us all about the Dewey Misters. Take it away, Jeff.
Hey, Grubby, I'm here to tell you about the Dewey Mister. It's a pretty nifty little gadget. It's all driven by air. It takes the place of a water pump. What do you think of that, Grubby?
Well, that's very cool. So how does it work?
Well, you hook an air pump to it. There is a venturi, which creates a vacuum through an intake hole that's approximately an inch off the bottom of your reservoir.
Well, that's very cool. So once you have an air line at the bottom, which makes air bubble, or, it sends air bubbles through, and you have a small opening that will let the water come in as the air bubbles rise, and you've got a nice little airlift pump. Then up at the top, you've got a nice, opening that's curved so that you get the popping little flecks out the top.
Right. And like an air stone would be putting air into your water, the Dewey Mister, you're putting water into the air, and as the cool water hits the warm air, creates an instant evaporation. And evaporation is a cooling factor, which also creates microns.
So the Dewey Mister is an aeroponic. And for those of our gentle listeners, just a gentle reminder. If you have something like a deep water culture or that, basically what you're doing is, since the roots need both air and water, you're in a DWC system, you're taking water and you're pumping air into it. In an aeroponic system, like the Dewey Mister, what you're doing is you take moisture and you spread it into the air. So either way, the roots have access to both air and water.
Correct. But there's one thing that's very important in the uptake of the water and nutrients into the plant. It has to be in a microscopic form. And between 5 to 50 microns is the perfect size of water droplet or with nutrient in it to efficiently be taken into the plant.
Now, one thing that I really like about the Dewey Mister design is that going through it, the smallest aperture that the fluid has to go through is about what size is the hole?
The intake hole is around 1/8 of an inch.
Which makes it nice, because since that's the smallest that the nutrient solution has to go through, that means you don't have to worry about sprinkler heads getting clogged up. And another very nice thing about it is that with this design, since you're using air from an air pump outside of the reservoir, you don't have to worry about having a water pump in the reservoir that's heating the water.
That is correct. That is a very benefit for your whole system, keeping the air heat out of your reservoir. That causes a lot of problems. Also, you get the perfect environment for your root system.
And with me today, also from Dewey Mister, is Dre. Take it away, Dre.
Hi, thanks, Grubby. One of the benefits that this particular product has to offer is that it does emit a mist or a vapor that's between 5 to 50 microns. And when you're dealing with water droplets and molecules that small, they tend to hang there for a very long time. And so they can drift over a very wide or large area and cover a good root mass with just a single mister head. So one of the added benefits to running with Dewey Mister aeroponic units is that they are super water conservative. They're very low flow. And so that being said, there's also a lot that you can do with them as far as versatility goes.
So it's a very cool design, and they're really worth taking a look at. But what do they do? How do you use them?
Well, they have different applications. You can use them for cloning multiple plants at one time, or you can use them for growing a single plant. One thing that we have a lot of people that are doing is that they're taking a good amount of individual misters and they're refurbishing or repurposing their old resis or trays or basins or whatever chambers they have that for whatever reason haven't been successful growing or have had problems. They've been putting the Dewey misters in them and they've been running them very, very effectively, very successfully. And the reasons that I'm sure you're aware of that why that works is because they don't clog, they don't overheat the water, they don't attract bacteria. You know, it's just a very simple set it and forget it style tool that anybody can work with.
Well, it looks like that would be a pretty easy retrofit in most cases, too.
Yeah, the suction cups work out really great to basically get it to stick to the bottom of your buckets or your pails or whatever. Some people will put something on the bottom to hold them in place, like maybe coconut oil or something like that before they stick them to the bottom. Otherwise, you can come up through the bottom of your trays by drilling a hole and attaching a grommet or a top hat if you want to conserve more water and space.
I happen to know that in Alfred's garden, as we speak, is a Dewey Mister cloner with tomato cuttings in it. I think a couple catnip.
Yeah, they're great for cloning, and you can run whatever nutrient solution of your choice, whatever's clever. You can try to throw the house at it. They run clog-free, so they're great for your cloning periods, but then whenever you're ready to boost up into your vegetative or growth stages, they can handle that too.
Well, very cool. Thank you for stopping by. And once again, that's the Dewey Misters. And if someone wanted to get a Dewey Mister, where could they go?
You should check them out at your local hydro shop. If you don't have them there yet, have them check out www.deweymister.com. That's DEWEYMISTER.com.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, this has been Jeff and Dre from the Dewey Mister crew. The Grow with Grubby Cup show is brought to you by
the La Mancha Safety Council. Stay safe, America.
Also brought to you by Grow With Us Hydroponics. If you're in the Rhode Island, Warwick area and you need some hydroponic supplies, stop on by at Grow With Us Hydroponics. Tell them Grubby sent you. Speaking of the Rhode Island, New England area, if you happen to be in the Rhode Island, New England area, stop off at Grow With Us Hydroponics, Home and Hydro, or Three Guys Hydroponics, all of which are very fine stores in the Rhode Island area, all of which are carrying Grubby Cup's potting mix. If you are in New York, make sure to stop off at Harvest Moon Hydroponics in Buffalo and in Rochester. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on dfzradio.com.
We're listening to DFZRadio.com.
Botanicare is proud to introduce a revolutionary 3-part nutrient system that is the culmination of over 15 years of research and development. The Kind Plant Nutrient System. Designed by leading plant physiologists, this is the most versatile, effective, yet easy-to-use plant nutrient system ever created. It all starts with Kind Base. Kind Base contains nitrogen and calcium, but no trace minerals, magnesium, or sulfur. By placing those nutrients in the Grow and Bloom formulas, you have greater control over how your plants grow in your medium of choice. Using coco coir or RO water, just add more base to increase calcium levels. Growing in clay pebbles or rock wool, then just reduce the amount of base to ensure the proper calcium level. It's that easy. Kind Grow contains trace minerals and a proprietary blend of all natural ingredients to help maximize root growth, reduce internodal spacing, and create a lush canopy. Kind Bloom was formulated with the optimum phosphorus to potassium ratio. Your plants will have healthy branch and stalk development, accelerated flower set, and increased yields. Kind Bloom also contains magnesium to help improve photosynthetic efficiency, which is critical in accelerated growth environments. To put it more simply, Botanicare's Kind nutrient system is the only nutrient system that is fully customizable to your kind of plants and medium. Botanicare Kind Base, Grow, and Bloom. Fully customizable. Any plant, any medium. For more information, go to botanicare.com. Botanicare Kind. Make it your kind.
You're listening to DFZRadio.com.
You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on DFZ Radio at DFZRadio.com, the archives at DFZ Radio, or on YouTube. So whichever way you're listening to us, I want to thank you for tuning in. And just as a special shout out, I want to say thank you to the Grooming Genie. I'll put up a link to them on the Grow with Grubby Cup Facebook page, so you can go over and like your page. The Grooming Genie is a canine beautician, and it's worth taking a click over to the Grow with Grubby Cup show to find her link and click over. She does some really interesting things with colors, and it is really is a bit of a canine artist. So, once again, that's the Grooming Genie. Make your dog's wishes come true. And we are running out of time for this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we're doing some preliminary stuff on Season 3, which is going to be starting right around the corner. So if you have any suggestions on how we can improve the Grow with Grubby Cup show, drop me a line at the Grow with Grubby Cup Facebook page or grubbycup.com. There's no shortage of ways to get a hold of me. We're running a bit short on time because I kept shooting my mouth off for a little bit too long this episode, something that I am known to do. Well, gee whiz, Grubby, that's true. Sometimes when you get going, you just don't shut up. Yeah, it happens. Once again, the Maximum Yield Indoor Garden Expo will be going on this weekend. The public day will be Sunday. And with any luck, hopefully I will see you folks there. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Grubby Cup Stash. Peace, love, and puka shells.
We got some seeds to grow. He'll keep you in the know. Variety to claim. So baby, what's his name? He's a man to know. He'll make your garden grow. Grubby Cup's his name. He's the man who make a change.
Well, this is your pal Herb the Wizard, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Grow with Grubby Cub show. And just remember what they say, because otherwise you won't remember what they say. Your favorite quote from a movie says, if somebody asks if you paid your dues, you look them right in the eye and you say, yes, sir, the check's in the mail.
You're listening to DFCRadio.com.